Alrighty, hello. We are going through the MDT training now. My name is Sergeant Long, and let's get to it. So, first and foremost, we're going to head straight to the dashboard, and you guys are going to notice that there's multiple areas right here. So, first and foremost, your most important on this screen is going to be your dispatch, your active units. You'll have your LSPD, your ambulance, which is your EMS, and then your DOJ, which is going to be in gray, your lawyers. There's going to be your lawyers, your judges, all that type of information. Underneath this, you have your recent calls. Within your recent calls, you could go ahead and right click, and then you can set waypoint to it. So say if there's a discharge of firearm like there is here, you could right click and go ahead and set your waypoint to it. You can attach yourself to it as well. Now, it's not just discarded firearms, but it's also going to be carjackings, it's going to be drug sales, such as that. Moving on, you'll have your bulletin board. This will be basically make sure you don't mess up. Here's some information, kind of info, such as when I last put, equip yourself with ammo and armor, keep vehicles repaired, on and off duty, reminder to go on to put all your stuff away before gym and all that stuff. Then we have our little dispatch area right here. See, as I said hi, you just little bit of message right there. You know, put it right there. This is not really important, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Then you have your warrants. Within your warrants, these are going to be all your wanted suspects. People who have killed somebody, who have killed a PD officer, who have rammed people in with vehicles, which you should not be seeing in this city, as that is against the Bible. But within this area, you'll be looking up certain individuals. So say you wanted to look up O'Kane Flores, you'll right click, and then you can go straight to their incident report. You can also go straight to their profile. This will tell you how many charges they have for them, being they have a warrant. Keep in mind, if you are going up to somebody and you notice they have a warrant, try to be nice about everything, because um, they can get a little aggressive with you, and what you want to do is try to calm that down and make sure they don't get aggressive, and try to get this warrant nice and easy and done. But you can go ahead and view their incident, and then you can see why they exactly have a warrant, and you can let them know and say, hey, we just want to work with you. We want to bring you back to PD. Let's work on this. And that's what you'll do in the dashboard section. Moving on, we'll be going into profiles. Within the profile section, you'll go here and you'll search up a name. So I've already put my name here. So you'll search up the name and then you'll see if they have a weapons license, a driver's license, or if they have a business license. Um, Most people, I believe Ronald and Frank, those people should have business licenses on here. So if they own a business, you should see this green. Within this area, you're also looking for citizen ID because some people might have multiple names. You'll also be looking at their name here currently. So say if there was two Juan Longs with the same everything, you'll also be looking at date of birth. This is a great area, especially if you're using the fingerprint. If you're using the fingerprint, you'll be looking at date of birth and matching it up. Say if there was two Juan Longs, but one was, instead of 1991, it was 2004 or something. That'll be a great way of you being able to catch up to watch them. Then you can also see what profession they are, if they're LSPD, EMS, lawyer, if they work at Wise Guys, anything such as that. And then you'll be moving on and see if they have apartment and where their apartment is,
Yes, I
which you
do.
can also see here in the properties.
It's gonna
Um,
be.
I'm going to be
Yeah,
moving up so
alright.
I
So
don't
you're
hear them.
gonna wanna.
Let me move really quick. All right, so you've already gone over the license portions. You can see their vehicles. You can also see their license plates right here next to the vehicle names. Tags I wouldn't worry about too much. Not really any. I don't think anybody has any tags of any sort. Then you got their properties again. Their apartment or the properties. Gallery, don't worry about. Go into conviction to see if they have any convictions. You can also go into incidents. You can right click on the incident and you can go into the incident from in here. The, Basically, the incident will have what convictions they have. Now, going back in here, that should cover the whole profile section. Moving on. We'll be going into the incidents. This is your bread and butter. So, from the incidents, This is going to be your ID number and the one you're starting, or anyone that you're with. So say Tom Knox, I was with him for this. Say I was with him, I would click on it and I would watch over it. Want to make sure he's doing stuff right because you're also included in it. So if you were writing this up yourself, you want to make sure it's correct. You make Just keep in mind this will have your ID number for your stash, and it'll have your name so you can keep an idea of it. Then you'll move over to title. Title will be their name, which is II. I know that's weird, but that is that person's name. And attempted armed robbery, which is going to be the highest charge that they're going to be getting. And then you make sure you keep the date. Do not remove the date, otherwise it'll mess things up. And say if a court case comes up, you'd be like, oh, I don't know where it is, I don't know where it is. But if you have the date, it keeps things in an orderly fashion. Then we'll be moving over to associated, which is going to be officers involved first. So your name and whoever you're with. So if you were with a sergeant this and corporal that and senior officer this and then chief this, you got to put all their names in officers involved. Civilians involved. These are only going to be the people that are, say, they were a hostage um, and they needed to be taken care of or taken to EMS or whatnot. Or these are the people that are reporting a shooting or something. You would put their name here. Or even for weapons licenses, you would put their names here as well. Moving on, we'll be moving down to the criminals involved. Again, their name is II. You would hit the plus, you would put II or whatever you want to put. So say, I'm just putting my name here for training purposes, but if I put Juan Long, my name would pop up. Now, again, I'm not going to put my name there because then that would make me a criminal, which I am not. So once you have added them here, keep in mind we are skipping over the summary portion because you want to send this person to jail as fast as you can. So, moving on, we'll be coming down to here. You'll be going here, you'll be modifying your charges. Again, to do this, it's going to be right click, left click, modify charges. Right underneath the guilty process warrant, all that stuff. We have our, so we move from down up, we have our hunting location area, we have our driving issues, our weapon issues, so brandishing a weapon, using it, all that kind of stuff. We have our drugs. That's a whole area for drugs. We have an area for disorderly conduct, disobeying a peace officer, stuff as that. We have some perjury, escaping, violating, stuff like that. Trespassing charges, impersonation charges. We have some grand theft auto charges, art robbery charges, stealing basically. And then we have our murder charges against PD, civilian, anything that involves someone getting hurt. Keep in mind when you're in here, what you can do is say if you want to give this person simple assault, you can left click. To be able to remove this charge, you can right click, and that will remove it. Now, once you have added all your charges together, you'll get a recommended fine and a recommended sentence. When you have your recommended fine and recommended sentence, you will then ask them if they plead guilty or not guilty. Up here you have your 4 areas. Do not worry about associated, it is not used right now. You have your warrant, so if this person got away and you couldn't catch them, you would put warrant. You have your guilty and processed. So, if you ask them if they pled guilty and they did in fact plead guilty, you would left click here and it should pop up green. And then once they have popped up green, you'll go ahead and offer them the plea deal, which is going to be a double the fine in half the sentence. So as right here, you see 3,000 is bumped up to 6,000. You had 50 months, it's bumped down 25 months because we're giving them a plea deal. And then you'll go ahead and fine and jail them within that order. Fine once, do not click this multiple times, and jail once, do not click it multiple times. Come up here and you'll hit the process button. Again, just left click once and it should go green. And then what I like to do is I'll come over to the summary and I'll get this in nice and quick. I like to work from bottom to top. I'll put in the items confiscated, and then here you'll be putting in what location it is. So this one's going to be 2064, like I said, ID number 2064. And then you'll be moving over here. If there was a hostage involved, their name would be here. All right, then we move on to the summary. The summary is going to be your bread and butter of the incident report. Now, within the incident report, you want to put in what exactly happened. You want to match your charges with your summary. So say somebody got in a 1080 and they drove off, but then eventually they got in a shootout with you while in driving. So this person would be getting reckless driving, reckless evading, criminal use of a weapon, brandishing a weapon, criminal possession of a weapon class B, stuff such as this. But in the summary, you don't want to put all that information. All you need to put in here is basically this person you are currently in a 1080 with was reckless driving, and eventually after a while they started shooting. That covers all of that information. You do not have to retype it all out. Within the summary, you also want to go ahead and put down that the person was read their rights. If you forget to read their rights, we have to let them go. That is, you are not disobeying any piece of law and messing things up, so they are now free to go. So make sure you put in that you read their rights and make sure you have read their rights. And if they need any medical attention, you also put this in here. It's not a need, but it definitely helps later down the line in case a lawyer needs to talk to you about anything. Keep in mind, you want to send them away before you start working on the summary. The summary is the last thing I want to see anybody doing. So that person better be sent to jail before you start working on that summary. Moving on, we'll be moving on to reports. So this is going to be your shift reports. I currently have one. It's going to be shift report 586. It's currently down here. To begin off, you already know your ID. This is not really important, but this is the ID. Then you have your title. Your title is going to be your first name, your last name, and then the date that you put in the shift report. Within the type, you're just going to put shift. Do not put shift report because it's just going to double it. Like right here, it says shift report report. So just shift, and it'll add itself a report. And then over here, you add your name. You can add multiple officers if you would like throughout your shift that you were working with, but you do not have to. It definitely looks better if you add multiple. I only add myself because I'd be adding officers all day if I added more. And then you work on, this is how I do mine. You can do yours either similarly or even better than me. If you can do better, go ahead and do it. It looks better for promotions. So within the shift report, you want to write your 10:08, 10:41, what time you started, because we're looking at this for how many hours you were active. So if you were active 5 hours, your shift report better say that you were active for 5 hours. Otherwise, we're just looking at it as somebody who was active, but we don't know how long they were active. So that's how you would start it. Your starting time and how exactly you got ready. Now what I like to do is I go back to my incident reports, and anything that has my name or I was attached to, I copy the summary and I add it here. So this would be incident 2030. And here's the summary for 2030. And that was my first incident of the day. Moving down to incident 3, I usually have a lot more than 3, but this day I was really busy with other things. So this day I only did 3 incident reports, but this again, incident 3, 2044, and here's the summary. And I like to do is I like to add additional info at the bottom so they could see that I was doing more work. And in here, you go ahead and finish it off, 10/7, what time you 10/7, and the date that you 10/7. And then, at the end, you just add your name, your rank, and what department you're a part of. Alright, moving down, we go down to map. This place isn't really important. Within the map, there's not really anything here, so don't worry about this. Again, we're moving back down to dispatch calls, right click, you can set your waypoint. Then we go to Bolos. Within Bolos, you're going to want to go to DMV first, because if you do not go to DMV, you're basically putting you're missing info. So you go down to DMV. So say this is one of my vehicles right here. So say you were in a chase with a 1080 with this person, but they got away. So that you would have the last 4. You should have the last 4. And you would basically take their registration plate. You would copy their registration plate. You'd go back to Bolos. You would come here and you would put that in the plate section. In the title, you would put just a normal 1080. Drove 1080 into a 10-0. Or however you want to put it. So like this one has just 1080. And then you would put the plate and you would come back to DMV. You would go on to owner. Again, just copy this info. Go back to Bolo, and it's just copy and paste. You copy and paste the owner. Keep in mind, the next one's going to be individual. Now, if the individual is not the person who is driving the vehicle, then okay, a better way to say this is if the person who's driving the vehicle, you cannot identify them, that does not mean that they are the owner of the vehicle. So if you cannot identify them, what I like to do is I'll type out unknown. I'll type out unknown, and then we'll continue from there. So then we go down to Bolo details. So Bolo details, again, it's going to be just like the incident report. You write in all that same info. Now, if there's a warrant for this person, like say the owner is the individual, or you did get the individual's name, then you would go back to the incident report. You would come here, you would go over to warrant, and you would left click here for the warrant. But being as this, but for this example here, you would go ahead and write out the whole summary as if it was an incident report. If there's a warrant, you would write just a small smidge of a summary, and then you would go ahead and put incident report blank 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 blank, and then you would go ahead and put that it's a warrant, like within parentheses. You would put a warrant, and then you would come over here to officers involved, and you would add the officer involved. So if you're the one that's putting out this bolo, you would put your name and anybody else that was with you during this bolo. Now, if you're being told to put out this bolo, but you're not the one that was involved, you can go ahead and put officer involved and that person who's telling you to put it out. Now, moving on, this is going to be your bolos. If you have any questions, ask in city. Moving on, we're going into rosters. This is in the LSPD emails, aka Discord. Again, SOP, LSPD emails, aka Discord, and then DMV. We'll continue on this. So within the DMV, you're going to be taking your registration plate, your owner, what the vehicle looks like, what color the vehicle is. You're going to keep that in mind because you might need to write that bolo out. But when you're getting asked for a 1028, which is a license plate check, you're going to be putting in the last four here, and then you're going to be searching here. You're going to be looking if it has a bolo or if it's stolen. If it's either bolo or stolen, you have to get this person out of the vehicle, and you have to detain them until you can figure out what's going on with the vehicle. Moving on, that is all the information for DMV. Now we have weapons. Within weapons, we cannot really search anything up. If you go ahead and put up you would put in, say, for instance, my pistol. If you hover over it, you'll see that serial number there, ending in 3042. If I were to search up 3042, no weapons match because this is not currently working at the moment. Hopefully it does work eventually, but once it does work, the city would be a lot better. But moving on, we'll be going into cameras. So if there's a robbery happening and you're an additional, this would be great for you. Great practice for you to just go in and say Pacific Bank was getting robbed. You can go ahead and get description of what's going on. And basically you get a description of the individuals, how many individuals before you even get to the doors. You have it for every bank, every supermarket, all that fun jazz. And you have staff logs. I wouldn't even worry about this location right here. This is more for the chief and above. Angels are really working in this area, so don't even worry about this area. With that being said, that is all of MDT, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the next location.